We're live. Hey, it's Bernard and Eddie. We're going to talk about curly hair today. Curly hairstyles are the easiest to do. And some of you guys are saying, wait, no, it's not. And it's funny because you do something, make your pictures look better in your before and afters. You curl the hair because it hides those little imperfections. Now, some of you guys are doing great extensions and some of you are not doing great hair extensions. And when you don't do the great hair extensions, you curl it and it hides everything. Same thing with applying curly hair extensions. It's just that we apply straight so often, we style straight and wavy hair for so many years now that we're uncomfortable with curly hair. You are, not me. I started doing hair when we were doing 5, 6, 7 perms a day. So I trial by fire. I didn't have a choice. I had to get good at curly hair. So then I started to figure it out, and I'm going to share some of those secrets with you today. I've got a little curly hair behind me. Eddie's got a post of some foam. Anybody use foam anymore? The honest truth, I've been out from behind the chair for 7 or 8 years now. Some would say I'm out of touch, and I don't know how to do hair anymore. But I still am surprised when I get down in the salon and start doing some hair. Those stylists gather around, and they're like, oh, we've never seen that before. But the advantage it's given me is traveling across the country, teaching stylists in salons across the country. I actually pick up little things from you guys across the country. And so then it made me a better stylist because I could put all those tips and tricks together. And foam was something we used in the early days. And I'm going to go through starting with like natural hair, whether it's straight, wavy, or curly, hair extensions, whether it's straight, wavy, or curly, how to style it. I want to talk about foam and the progression of products in a minute, but I want to let Eddie jump in here for the intro just a little bit. Go.
Yeah. So the other thing, what is curly hair, right? We got to, always the science with me. We got to set the baseline for what the curly hair is and how it works and what it does. So curly hair.
We got words.
I got lots of notes. I always got my notes, right? So, but curly hair, because I always have to keep myself organized. Otherwise, I'm all over the place. The main thing about it is, why does hair curl? And it has to do with the way the cuticle bends and how the cuticle comes together and how the proteins inside of the cuticle come together. So when the keratin builds up in the hair, when the follicle starts growing and when it starts producing hair, how that keratin gets distributed across the follicle, across the hair strand, is going to determine the difference between having straight, wavy, and curly hair. If your follicle is nice and oval shaped, then and the keratin is distributed evenly, you're going to have nice, smooth, straight hair. If your follicle is oval, not perfectly oval, if it's some kind of weird shape, right? Off shape, asymmetrical, however you want to refer to it as.
Flatter, yeah.
It's going to be heavy on one side. It's not going to be as even on the other side. That's going to start putting that bend into it. And that's what starts creating the wavy and the curly.
Interesting.
So it all has to do with the proteins and the genes.
I got to know in the comments. I'm going to be really harsh and honest with you right here. I want to know if you hairdressers like those scientific backgrounds of it. Sometimes I found them interesting. With curly hair, I could give a crap less. I just want to know that it looks good. And I don't know the science. Only science I knew behind it was round hair is straight, flatter hair is curly, but we take round hair and we perm it. Does it actually turn it flat? I don't think it really matters. It turns it curly. Is it actually flat? That's kind of interesting to me. But before you answer that, I'm going to say something about products for just a minute. Because what is frizzy hair? Most people would look at hair, and if curly hair looks frizzy, they wouldn't call it curly, first of all. They would say, my hair's frizzy, my hair is damaged, I need to cut it off and start over. I did something to damage it. Not necessarily, because even damaged hair that's frizzy, well, natural, nice, normal, no chemical, virgin hair that's curly can look frizzy. And let's define frizzy compared to not frizzy. The first thing about curly hair is that if every single hair stands alone, going in its own pattern, These eyeballs can't follow all of that. And that's what looks frizzy. It looks like a cotton ball. It's like if I took one of these curly things here, I don't know if you can kind of see it. If I took, God, they're going to kill me if I do this, but you take this here and I start to brush through it with a brush and separate all those clumps. I took this really nice hair, put some static in it. I got it looking kind of wild. Every hair starting to stand alone. It got bigger, but it got fuzzy and frizzy and not so defined looking anymore. So in the early days, all we had was gel and mousse, right? We'd put it in there while the hair was wet, and some people let their hair dry, and it was in these curls, you know? It was solid. And quite honestly, I think soaking wet curly hair is super sexy. I love wet curly hair, but it's not the most professional thing all the time. You know, the celebrities will bring it forward sometimes and they can walk the red carpet with it and get away with it. You know, slicked back wet hair, curly wet hair, but it's not as timeless. And so curly haired, when you have it naturally as a kid, my wife has curly hair. That's how much I like curly hair. And
my wife's got curly hair too. Yeah.
Yeah, and yours has curly hair too, right? So learning how to deal with it, they had to just trial by fire. They had to figure it out as kids, and depending on the age of you are, determine what products you got to start with when you were younger, figuring it out. And so, without going into great detail, I know you got some pictures of products, but we went from gel and foam and mousse or whatever, and then what do you have next? Let's see the next picture.
All right, so let me go here. So this is traditional foam mousse, what everybody's used to seeing. It comes out the can, it blows up, and
right.
You work it through the hair, it gets nice and stick, right?
Right.
And if you use it properly, it works just fine. If you don't use it properly, this is what sometimes you end up with.
So this is just a little throwback to that Gorilla Glue. This is actually somebody using spray foam in a can. They probably saw foam and thought, oh, it's foam. I can put it in my hair. This is probably a real emergency room visit. The foam is not coming out of that hair easily. Luckily, it looks like they could shave her or his, I can't even tell, their head and get rid of this. But what is the green stuff in there? I mean... Is it decorations? Is that on purpose?
This is insulation foam.
Right.
Yeah, so like when you're working on the house.
I know. So from the look of that face, that is not a happy person.
That's not a happy camper, right? And so you walk outside and anything that touches it is going to stick.
Right.
And that just goes to another example of the tackiness of foam and how it was designed to have that superior hold to be able to keep all those strands of hairs together.
The next picture, because right. So this is neat because it goes from straight to very curly. Obviously, there's an endless amount of waves and curls that can happen here, and this is again showing each individual hair. Eddie's pulled up a very commonly used chart, basically 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then within each number, they kind of categorize a few different waves. And basically 1, 2, and 3 is what most of us work with. 4 turns into the very kinky curly afro, tight curl, whatever you want to call it. Very, very curly hair, which not the majority of the population has. The majority of the population doesn't have either end of the spectrum. The majority of the population does not have bone straight hair, and the majority don't have the super, super curly. Most people fall in the 2 or 3 category. So let's move to that next one. Because a lot of people...
This is an example of the 2 category. Well, this is an example of all the categories, more like a visual. And it's subdivided between the different, like here, if I zoom in a little bit like this. So here are the different variations of the 2 curl, the 3 curl, and the 4 curl. We'll get more specific into it as well, too. But this is the difference between when you're talking about natural hair, when you're talking about curly hairstyles, when you're talking about the routine for, like the routine for curly hair. Everybody keeps referencing the types of curl patterns, the 2, 3, and 4, A, B, C. So this is the kind of stuff, So like this would be a 2 a type 2 curl ABC.
What is your curly hair routine? Because when you figure it out, you're going to be doing it every day. So this is what I wanted to mention about the progression of products. We went from the stiff hold to more of a flexible, pliable hold. And in this flexible, pliable hold category, there's a lot of choices, and you have to figure out which one works for you. And if you're wearing extensions, you're going to have a curly hair routine with extensions that's going to be a little bit different than your curly hair routine without hair extensions. So you're going to learn that oils, silicones, pomades, even waxes and spray waxes, and there's probably other products, but most of these products never dry hard. And that's the key. So this is what gave curly haired people a whole new happy attitude about curly hair, because they used to have to put this product in, and then this is what a diffuser was all about. A blow dryer hitting curly hair just knocks it apart, slaps it around until all of the hairs separate and end up individual. So that's the problem with a blow dryer. You need to, like, every one of these are beautiful.
Yeah, this is what people are trying to do with diffusers all the time. You know, like the type 2s are trying to do the beachy waves all the time. This is what diffuser people are trying to do all the time.
And what the diffuser does is it just puts a soft, slow, warm to hot air across the hair, starts to evaporate some of the water out of it. So you've got your product in, and if you just put the diffuser on it and did nothing else, it'll dry looking just like it does, as if you were to just let it air dry for a couple of hours. But with the longer hair, like all the way to the left, to 3A, it's going to take a lot longer to dry. So you put the diffuser in there, and then you run a big wide pick through it. But if you pull down, you take curl out. So you've got to pull down, but then fluff it back up. So you're fluffing it, running your fingers through it, fluffing it back up, and you're slowly going from very defined, large groupings of hair like some of these to where you're getting closer and closer to frizzy. You just have to know that. You're going from soaking wet, large clumps to completely frizzy. You're trying to find somewhere in the middle that makes you happy or looks like the picture that your client showed you or that you want. So you slowly get there. And many times it can be much frizzier underneath. That's what will give you the fullness and the volume. It's that top layer. And if you found that you went a little too far, you just missed a little water over the top, run your fingers through it, and then go again with the diffuser. So that's mainly what I wanted to cover. We'll have some, let's go to another picture and just kind of see.
You know, this is the fourth hair type, and when it's done right, it's freaking gorgeous, right? And when it's out of control, it's out of control. There is always, every time I've seen a curly hair specialist do stage work, they always say, every day is an adventure with curly hair. That's the running joke with people with curly hair, right? And it's so true. Most of the time, people are trying to fight their curl. They're not trying to embrace their curl. And this is why we have keratin smoothing treatments. We have relaxers, perms, spiral perms, tight perms, poodle perms. There's so many different variations, and there's so many different products out there that help cover all of that. The biggest issue with curls is moisture, the retention of moisture, the lack of moisture. That's going to be the key factor in the difference of your hair is going to look nice or it's going to be a frizzy hot mess, right?
And those two pictures we're looking at right there, here's a good example also. They're both closer to the every hair stands alone, but you can see a slight difference on the girl on the left with the longer hair.
With the longer hair.
Her hair is a tiny bit more definition. You can see some actual curls there, and it is my favorite look. I like the bigger the hair, the better to me. But I like the bigger hair. It's a little bit longer, and some of the hair curl is defined a little bit more, even on her forehead. It's not as curly on her forehead, but it's separated and piecey. I love that. Whereas the girl on the right, it's a look. It's a lot of people are trying to go back to their natural hair, and that is more natural, completely dry, picked out. But you can see how you can't see any definition in the curl. It just kind of all blends together, and it's got a little bit more of the each hair stands alone look. And everybody has an opinion of what they like. I like the hair on the left a little bit better. Some people like the hair on the right. It's all in what you like, or the people you're trying to please, or the period you're trying to create for the movie set you're working on. It's That's what I love about hair. We so many opinions, so many ways to go. Go to your next picture.
So the next picture is there's actually so she curly girl is actually a very popular YouTuber. She's an influencer. You know, you can Instagram her. I mean, you can look her up. She's all over the place, right? And she does this segment of curly girl method approved products. So she goes through and she says, I've tested these products, I've tested these products, I like this, I like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. And she's got a huge following. So what she does is she takes a lot of over-the-counter products. She does go over professional products as well too, but she mainly goes with especially how to use over-the-counter products and how to test them out. So she had done a segment, and this is the image from that segment, about these are the common products that people can get a hold of easily, and what she feels works pretty well. The reason why I wanted to point this out is most people just think of mousse when it comes to curly hair. They don't think about shampoo and conditioner. They don't think about oil. They don't think about leave-in. They don't think about, well, I mean, some people think about gel, but they think of just hair gel. They don't think about pumps and creams and actual, styling-based oils. And you and I had a great conversation about, different kinds of products. You were telling me about, what was the oil you were telling me about, Bernard?
I don't remember this conversation. Was it with the For You?
Yes.
I don't remember. Oh, the one that Amber is absolutely in love with.
The one that she's in love with.
What is it? I think it's called Silk Protein by She Hair. They have a Silk Protein in the For You product line. She is in love with the whole line. They just came out with a spray oil also. And the word oil is a little scary because oil sounds like it's going to be thick and heavy. Sounds a lot like motor oil. The word oil, I just don't like the word. But in the hair world, obviously oils have come from so many different things. You can have coconut oil or you can have motor oil. Huge difference. And so the oils that are going in hair
is not motor oil. Do not put motor oil in your damn hair.
Hey, we'll have your picture on here if you put motor oil in your hair, and you're not. That's what the greasers did back, like in the movie Grease. I mean, they called them the oilers or the greasers. They literally used Vaseline and motor oil. They were working on their car. They got a little motor oil in their hand. They had black hair, didn't matter. And that's what they would slick their hair down with. It stayed really well. So that's even going back a little bit further. That was just before I don't know if this is true. I was going to say it's just before the first gel called Dippity Doo. My dad had gel called Dippity Doo. I just love the word Dippity Doo. What a weird, sounds like it should be in a musical, Dippity Doo Da or something like that. But it was green gel. I remember using it as a kid because it was the only thing in the house my dad had. But the other thing I wanted, go to the next picture and let's see if there's something. I've never seen Curly Girl before. I'm going to have to look that up. It looks interesting.
Yeah, otherwise, if you're going to go with professional products, again, it's all mimicking the same thing. You've got sprays, leave-in conditioner sprays. You've got
place cement.
Place cement, right? Place cement is a molding it's how you call it, like the fiber pomade, right?
Yeah.
Where it stretches and it's got all the memory fibers in there. And a lot of people think, oh, I can't put pomade in a curly hair. It's going to turn it into a fro. No, actually, depending on the type of the curl that you have, whether it's the loose wave or, all the way up to the coily curl or the tight fro, it could actually help collect all those individual hairs together. Just like we were talking about a couple of pictures back. It all depends on how you're trying to control the actual spiraling pattern and the direction of that hair. And that's going to be the difference between, is it going to cause friction when it rubs up against each other, or is it all going to go together? Is it going to be resistant against humidity because it's retaining its own internal moisture properly, or is it going to dry out and it's going to actively seek out that moisture? And that's why the hair grows and it blows up so big. So pomades, hairsprays, hair gels, all kinds of products. That's why there's so many different types of products out there. It's not
Where
really to be
can you
discounted.
get curly hair extensions? That's a big question. See, most hair extension companies don't carry curly hair. Most of just this tiny bit way over here is from Onstage Extensions. And this was a special order that somebody didn't, I don't know, somebody didn't get all the hair, or we ordered more than we needed. But everything else here is from She Hair. She Hair stocks wavy and curly hair all the time. So most people are trying to order hair extensions. They're having to permit, or they're having to custom order it, or wait a long time. With She Hair, in your office in Chicago, my office in Slidell, we have it immediately. And I don't want to go deep into this product on the screen here, but I want to mention Eddie's a master educator for this company. If you have questions about any of the products you see in the picture right now, you can message him in the comments below, or you can call or text him. We should put your cell phone number up there. Just kidding. Go to the next picture. I don't want to.
So these are examples of the difference between somebody whose curls are super heavy because they haven't been treated, because they haven't been maintained, and the difference of just spending a little bit of time styling the hair, how much more alive the hair can look, how much more bounce it can have, how much more definition it can have.
Yeah, the blue. You can see the blue shirt or jacket through the hair on the left because it's bigger chunks of hair kind of twisted in circles. And the one on the right, it's a bigger curl, so you would think it would hang heavier, but it probably has the right product in it, pushed up and diffused. And the reason for the diffusing is to hold the hair up, because the water is what's heavy that's in the hair, and it's pulling it straighter. And so when you push the hair up, the product is sort of like a glue, a holding agent that's going to hold the hair in that pushed up location, but the heat coming out of the diffuser is pulling the moisture out so that it's less heavy, gets lighter. Then when you take the diffuser off, if you could hold it there while it cools, the cool hair will hold there, and then the product will help hold it. And you're right, that's a good example of and you know what? I like both of those looks. I just happen to like the one on the right a little better. It's a little bigger.
One of the reasons why I love this picture in particular is because she's got long hair. And everybody's like, oh, the longer the hair is, the more it's going to pull the curl out. And it's not necessarily true. It all depends on how you approach the styling, the maintaining and the styling of it for that natural hair look, or the regimen for curly hair. So here's another example of soaking wet hair. Here, I'll actually leave it zoomed out. On the left side, the hair is fresh out the shower or out the shampoo bowl, whatever, it's soaking wet. And then on the right side, it's dried up a little bit.
Well, it still looks pretty. You can go to the next one. It still looks pretty wet because they didn't break it up quite as much. Same thing here. Looks like the same head to me.
No, but here's another example, of wet hair and how you can see through it, and you can't really see the curl pattern or the design of it until it dries up in styles. Now it looks really, really nice. And then
still looks very, very big chunks of curls and a lot more of the wet look, even on the dry side.
Yeah.
You could break that up a little bit more throughout the day. You could run your fingers through it. You could make it look bigger or less chunky, and like I'm saying, closer to frizzy if possible, but not that you want to get frizzy. That's the end of the road. It's like if you get to the red house at the end of the road, you passed me up. If you get to the frizzy hair, you went too far.
You went too far, right? And then this next picture is the extreme. So these were examples of the type 2 curl, the type 3 curl. This is an extreme example of type 4 curl. This is the difference of when it's wet versus when it's dry.
Same person, right?
This is the same person. Now, my wife got type 4 curl like this, and I love when her hair is wet and when she wet styles it.
Right.
At the end of the day, it looks like this on the right, and she's all angry, but I think she looks cute as hell too. The only difference is her face is this small and her hair is this big.
That's a good place to go to what I'm going to say next. Zoom back out a little bit. Some people might get something out of what I'm getting ready to say. I did curly hair. I'm going to talk about a couple things here real quick. the pastor, the wife of a church I used to go to years ago, came in and said, I want extensions. And she said, I want curly extensions. I said, but you don't have curly hair. She said, I know. I used to be a hairdresser. I know I can have curly hair too. I said, oh, okay. You want me to perm your hair? We already bleach it out pretty blonde. She said, yeah, I can handle it. I've been doing it for years. So she was already bleached pretty light. And then she had me perm her hair. And then she wanted curly extensions. And I said, how long, how much? She said, as much as you can put in. And right away, I was like, oh, shoot. I don't have the lightest blonde I need. But you know what? The lightest blonde I needed was in the wavy extensions, and the color that didn't match as good was in the curly, and the texture matched better in curly. So we put most of her head in curly hair. Then when I got to the top of the head, every second or third piece, I was putting in a wavy piece, but it was that platinum blonde wavy, like 1001 in wavy, but we didn't have it in curly yet years ago. And so that's what pulled her color in, and we put a lot, and I said how much, and she said a lot. She said, the more hair you put in and the bigger I can make my hair, the smaller my butt will look. And when I saw this picture, it made me think about it. I was like, because of her shirt changes here, it doesn't actually do that here, because actually the big hair, it doesn't look smaller down there. But if she'd had the same shirt on in both pictures, like you just said, the little face.
I think she's standing up a little bit more on the left. I think she's sitting down a little bit more on the right.
Maybe so. So like you said with your wife, the little face, you have to think about that. I like a little face with big hair, but it's true. As the hair gets bigger, the face looks smaller, the body looks smaller, the butt looks smaller. So, I mean, that's what we do with hair. We use hair to make other features of our body. Longer hair can sometimes draw your face down. Wider hair can make your face look wide. So, I mean, that's the fun in hair. It can change your whole look, your whole body in so many different ways. Mix curly and wavy. That's the moral of that story. You can mix the curly and the wavy. I've put, as a matter of fact, I was at a class out of town one time, and the girl, we shipped the hair. The girl gets her pack of hair from me for her model, and she says, Bernard, this is, I've got curly and straight hair here. Half my order is curly, half is straight. It was all very dark hair. You can go to the next picture while we're doing this. And I got a little nervous. The models there were out of town. I said, well, thank goodness the straight hair is not actually bone straight. It has a little bit of wave to it, but I've never mixed straight and curly hair. I've always mixed straight and wavy, or wavy and curly. I thought they were kind of close, and we could kind of change it like the girl on the right there. Our curly hair would be too curly for that hair, but it almost looks like the girl on the left got extensions to thicken her hair. But the wavy hair might be too straight, so you can do wavy, curly, wavy, curly. So anyway, I told her, hey, on this girl, I wouldn't do two of anything and then two of another, because it'd be too much curl, too much straight. Let's alternate it evenly. You got exactly half straight, half curly. She loved it. The girl, I remember this one, because the lady said, I mean, she's an exotic dancer. She's got to go to work tonight. She already told all her friends she's coming to work with long hair. We have to do it today, because I said, we can reorder hair. You can redo it in a few days. I said, I really think if you use a straight, a curly, a straight, a curly, it's going to look pretty good. That girl for the next few years ordered that same regimen for that girl over and over. She loved the look of it. It was unique. No other hairdresser had ever done it before. She had this variety in her hair, and it just, I don't know if it looked just so good she loved it or blended with her hair great. It's been too many years now for me to remember the details of it. I just remember, because I was freaking out, oh shit. We got to make straight and curly, and it turned out great. So sometimes you got to actually force yourself to be creative and see what happens.
This is true.
Yeah. This is another good example, but the same thing over and over. Do we have any thing that we hadn't covered yet? That's wet to dry, looks great.
Let me ask you this way. There was two things. I wanted to ask you two things and see if you wanted to discuss it or not. One is kind of sciencey, which I know you don't care about science stuff. And then the other one is a styling question. I regularly have to perm extensions all the time.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to go over?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay.
What other pictures do we have? I want to make sure we covered all the things that we had.
That was all the pictures, yeah.
Okay. All right, you
that
can
was
get
all
rid
the
of all
examples of the pictures.
Make our faces big.
We are big.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
It's the magic of editing. You don't get to see.
It doesn't look like that on my screen.
I feel so bad for you because you got the easy job. You just get to sit there and look good. I got to sit here and do all the work.
So, I mean, I think our opinions about styling curly hair or curling extension hair is going to be different because yours is going to be more scientific. So, yeah, I don't mind. I'll do mine first because then towards the end, most people have kind of checked out anyway. Nobody will be there to listen to you.
No. Talking about perming hair. Okay, so let me say this the right way. Extension. Perming hair is my styling thing. I want to talk about how I style perming or how I perm extensions and to make them curly and style it. And then after we talk about that, then I have a nerdy question I want to ask you about and see if you haven't checked out by then.
So I love curling extensions or perming extensions. I've done it for a long time. Before I used she hair, I was using Great Lengths hair, and Great Lengths they charge a ridiculous amount of money to perm the hair for you. I met a guy years ago that said there was just one lady that perms all the hair for the Great Lengths hair. She's in this country. The hair comes from Italy or some other country. And so with she hair, it's already permed at the factory and a lot less expensive to get wavy and curly. But when I had to perm it back then, the only thing I really want to say about that is that you have to watch it and test curl more often. It curls much quicker. A lot of perms are designed to work with the heat of the body to help process it a little bit. So I've always found my best success or best luck with perming extensions was using an exothermic perm. One of those ones when you mix part A and part B together, it warms up in the bottle. So you've got that heat and then put a plastic bag over it. Follow the directions. Most of them want a bag over it. And the bag will help hold some of that heat in. So then I don't have to hope or depend on some body heat to help react with the hair. And then still test it a little more often because darker hair is going to take a little bit longer. Lighter hair is a little more chemically processed, and it's gonna process a little bit quicker. That's all I've really got from a practical standpoint. Lay the science on us.
No. So I'm with again. This one was more the styling bit. This is not the. I don't have any science on this one. This is all experience. I agree with you. I always use the exotherms. I usually only do about 3 or 4 bonds at a time when I'm wrapping my rod. I only ever do about 3 or 4 bonds at a time. I've tried it with 5. I feel like it gets too bulky. And I've tried it with 1 or 2, and I felt like, it just was a waste. I could have gotten a couple of extra ones in there more. What I also find is I love using the pink rod, pink and whites, just because it makes a tighter curl. And I always find that it tends to relax over time anyways. So starting off with a little bit tighter gives a little more longevity in the wear, And then the last thing I want to say on that one is I always let the bonds air dry for about 24, 48 hours, about 1 or 2 days.
Neutralize.
What's that?
Do you use the neutralizer?
Oh, yeah. No, I run the whole perm through and then process and neutralize and do all of that.
Technically, you wouldn't have to neutralize if you let it just air dry on the rods for 2 or 3 days. The challenge with the air drying neutralizing, I just want to throw this out there for the inexperienced perm users out there. You put the wave and lotion on and then you rinse it out. But did you actually rinse it out? You've got to rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse. Mm-hmm. And so here's the challenge. If you neutralize, it takes some of that wave and lotion out and it makes sure that the hair gets neutralized. But if you rinse tremendously well, and I've got to say, more water, the better.
It's boring as hell, but you got to stand there.
So unprofessional what I'm getting ready to say, but a bathtub works great because it's that big. So many times in a hotel room before a class, I've taken a hair system or extensions, permed them up in the room, and then run them under that faucet of the bathtub. Now, in this case, I would have to neutralize because I don't have the time that I need. But one time I was on the road and I was going to be teaching a class every few days for a couple of weeks, and I was traveling a lot. So I permed it in my first hotel room quite a few days before I got to the last class where I knew I was going to be using this hair system. Left the rods on, rinsed it really well, towel dried it, make sure it all left it on the counter, and carried it around with me in the airport so it'd stay air dried, freaking some people out. But if it can dry for 2 or 3 days, air dry, you don't even need the neutralizer. The hair will naturally neutralize, and the curl will stay so much better. But like you said, kind of a double check system. If you will neutralize it and then rinse it, but leave it on the rods, again, you got to rinse it really well to get the neutralizer out. Then let it dry. Overnight's great, but if you can do 2 or 3 days, if your client's not coming in for a week, if you can leave it in there for 3, 4, 5 days, that's going to help lock that curl in a lot better. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay, yeah. So I've always let it air dry because I was always worried about the moisture in the bonds. So when you go to warm them up, then it won't manipulate as well and it won't hold as well and stuff like that. So thanks for sharing that information. That was cool. So now I'm going to ask you this question, see if you care to answer it or not. On wavy hair, curly hair forums, this is a huge debate and an argument. And I love watching the comments. The comments are gold. Listening to people say, no, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you don't know. No, you don't know. Does straight hair tangle more than curly hair? Or does curly or wavy hair tangle more than straight hair? Which hair type tangles the most?
The lazy peoples.
The lazy peoples. Where's Carmelina?
I know. His wife just left.
Lazy people.
She was right. I mean, technically, with the exact same regimens, care, products, curly hair is gonna tangle easier because it's already passing each other up multiple times coming from the scalp down, and the longer it is, the easier it's going to tangle. The problem is there's so many other factors. If drier, more damaged hair is going to tangle, no matter straight or curly, because the cuticle layer is flared out, and that cuticle layer is rubbing up against each other and trying to grab on. And somebody with naturally curly hair could have a flat, smooth, fine curly hair, and somebody with straight hair could have bleached out, damaged cuticle that's going to tangle every morning and tangle way worse. So that's a tricky question because it's more the health of the hair, the length of the hair, the amount of curl, and then the products they're using, and then how often they're detangling their own hair. And then are they skydiving? Do they have a convertible? Are they, lifestyle is going to matter too. Yeah. What's your opinion on that?
Well, so this is why I love going on these forums and listening, and I love asking these people, what if I said to you, there is a study, and again, this is all science stuff. This isn't me. I just love the science stuff. What if I said to you that straight hair is more prone to tangling than wavy or curly hair because the scales of the cuticle, they when they rub against each other, the angle at which they hit each other are more prone to locking up with each other. Whereas with wavy and curly hair, because the shape of wavy curly hair is more rounded, it's easier for those when they rub against each other to bounce off of each other and not get linked into each other.
Interesting.
I was
answering like a politician, not actually answering a really long no answer.
No,
it's situational.
It's situational. Now, my thought on it is this, and this is just with living with, Carmelina, who has the kinkiest, tightest, coily, that type 4 freaking curls, type 3, type 4 curl, is what I find when she's not moving, when she's just sitting still, her hair is fine, right? As soon as she breathes, her hair blows up. No, yeah. It's what I find is this. I find that people with straight hair, I think they tangle more often throughout the day. I think people with wavy and curly hair, I don't think they tangle up as often throughout the day. I just think that when they do tangle up. Son of a, it is.
I see what you're saying. Curly hair, after it's kind of styled, it kind of all locks together and it kind of moves together.
And it just
and
kind of sits
where
together.
Straight hair is flowing, is moving more often. That's interesting. I never thought about it like that. Straight hair, the wind blows, you turn your head. It's definitely moving past each other with more potential to tangle compared to curly hair. Once it's styled, it's going to kind of all move as a whole and not. Fascinating. Yeah,
Fascinating stuff, right?
I definitely would have said curly hair if all things were the same, but now you might have changed my mind. I'm thinking maybe straight hair if all things are the same.
We got to get some comments on this one, huh?
Yeah. What do you think? I think we've been talking long enough, science man.
All right, everybody. Actually, yeah, do hit us up with some comments. Answer Bernard's question from earlier. Do you guys like the science stuff, or should I shut up about it? Let me know what you guys think. Does straight hair tangle more than curly hair, or vice versa? What are your guys' experience when you've had to curl, perm, or style curly hair, wavy hair? And we will catch you all next time. Thank you, everybody.